back, guys. So in this video you're going to see why it is that Russia owns Germany and why Germany is such a weak link in NATO right now. And it's all to do with gas and the fact that Russia is pumping Europe full of gas and Europe needs this gas, especially Germany, but also a bunch of other European countries need gas even more than Germany does. But Germany is a huge player. They're one of the most important NATO nations, and we can see that they're in a huge bind right now. They don't really know what to do because you've all these other countries like the US and the UK, and they're telling Russia, don't invade Ukraine. Well, we have Germany kind of sitting back and not saying much. That's because they are so dependent on Russian gas. So you've probably heard a lot about this Nord Stream 2 pipeline. The pipeline has been built, but it hasn't been opened yet. Now we have Nord Stream 1. Now that's been open for years, and the Nord Stream 2 runs parallel to it, and that supplies gas from Russia to Germany. But it's not just about the Nord Stream 2 because we have more pipelines here. The green one, the Yamal pipeline, goes from Russia through Belarus into Poland and into Germany. We have the Brotherhood one here in blue. It goes through Ukraine and it goes across Slovakia and the Czech Republic into Germany. And we also have the Soyuz pipeline, which goes through Ukraine as well. So Nord Stream 2 is just part of this. And we have all these other pipelines, some of which go through Ukraine. So this Ukraine issue is a huge problem for Germany and indeed a lot of other European countries. So an article here from the New York Post: Germany signals it may halt Nord Stream 2 if Russia invades Ukraine. So Germany's new government suggested that it would not hesitate to stop Nord Stream 2 pipeline if Russia invades Ukraine. This is garbage. They will hesitate. Germany is hesitating right now. They don't know what to do. This is a huge headache for Germany. And Putin has demanded the US and its European allies guarantee that Ukraine and other former Soviet bloc states not be allowed to become NATO members. So this is why Putin is threatening to invade Ukraine. NATO wants to expand further eastwards. They want Ukraine to join. They want Kazakhstan to join and Georgia to join. And Putin is like, enough is enough. NATO has expanded enough already, and they will not tolerate the Ukraine joining NATO. So the pipeline operated by Russian-owned Gazprom has been built but not received regulatory approval to operate. So the pipeline is just sitting there right now. There's no gas flowing, for now at least. Now, critics of the project in the US warn that the pipeline will make Germany and Europe more dependent on Russia for energy. So America was warning against this pipeline. US, of course, the biggest member of NATO, telling the European NATO members this is bad news for Europe and for NATO because it's going to make Germany and other European countries reliant on Russia for gas. So the US Senate rejected a bill introduced by Ted Cruz that would have imposed sanctions on Nord Stream 2. So Ted Cruz wanted to impose sanctions on this new pipeline, but he didn't get the required 60 votes. 60 out of 100 was needed. So he said, today the Senate rebuked Joe Biden's surrender to Vladimir Putin on Nord Stream 2. So this is real fighting talk, real political talk here, but he has a point because America is now not going to sanction the Nord Stream 2, so it could get the go-ahead between Germany and Russia. And here is Germany's foreign minister, Annalena Baerbock, and she's trying to negotiate with Putin. Good luck with that, because Russia has Germany by the balls, basically. Now, she doesn't have any balls, she's a woman, but you know what I mean. So Germany will not supply weapons to Kiev for now, defense minister says. So other NATO countries, they're supplying weapons and stuff, but Germany is not. Berlin is ruling out arms deliveries to Ukraine in a standoff with Russia for now. German Defense Minister Christine Lambrecht said in an interview. So the German Defense Minister is a woman, and I had a look at her resume and it's not very impressive. So you have the German Defense Minister and the German Foreign Minister, two women, negotiating with Putin and Lavrov. It's I don't know. German Chancellor Olaf Scholz, however, has stressed Berlin's policy of not supplying lethal weapons to conflict zones. So Germany, this new peacenik country after starting 2 world wars, they don't want to supply weapons to Ukraine, but they will supply a field hospital. So there we go. Germany, country of peace, don't want to be getting involved in war. And here Germany throws a wrench in Ukrainian defense, blocks transfer of howitzers. So Estonia wanted to send weapons that originally came from Germany to Ukraine, but Germany, which has also refused to share any of its weapons with Ukraine, refused. not only is Germany not giving weapons itself, it's blocking other NATO countries from doing so. Estonia, they're telling Estonia, nope, you can't send weapons that we gave you to Ukraine. And here we go, a couple of Twitters here. I cannot come to any other conclusion that those that built the Nord Stream pipelines have at least some culpability for the war in Ukraine and worsen security in Europe. And this guy agrees with him, and he's got all these flags of various countries. This is actually spot on. Germany has a huge responsibility for the situation in Ukraine. It's time they change their appeasement policy and help Ukraine. So Germany now stands alone as one of the few NATO countries refusing to assist Ukraine as fears grow that Russia will use the troops surrounding 3 sides of Ukraine to launch an invasion. So Germany is sitting back, they're not doing anything. Here's an article from the Wall Street Journal. Germany's reliance on Russian gas limits Europe's options in Ukraine crisis. And this is spot on. Now, this is behind a paywall, but you don't really need to read it. All you need to know is that Germany is relying on Russian gas, and Germany is completely compromised, and Putin basically owns Germany. It's simple as that. This is from Gazprom, Russian gas exports to Europe. And here we can see Germany colored in red. That's because Gazprom has huge gas sales to Germany and also Italy as well, and Poland, and also the UK to a lesser extent. So Russian gas is making its way all the way to the UK. So it's gone right across Europe, not just to Germany. And here's another map showing you gas going from Russia to Europe and Germany. So 36% of German gas is coming from Russia, 27% in Italy, and 23% in France. So even France and Italy, they're pretty heavily dependent as well on Russian gas. And here's a graph showing Russian natural gas as a percentage of domestic consumption. So here we can see Georgia, Finland, Macedonia, and Slovakia, 100% of their gas is coming from Russia. So these countries are all completely dependent on Russian gas. So Finland is totally compromised, as is Georgia, Macedonia, and Slovakia, and Belarus, who is an ally of Russia, 98% of their gas. So that's not a problem for Belarus because Putin and Belarus, they're buddies. Lukashenko, the president of Belarus. And look at this, Bulgaria, Serbia, Montenegro, they're just so dependent on Russian gas. Greece, look at Greece, 82% of their gas is coming from Russia. Czech Republic, almost 80%. And Germany is actually pretty low on this list. It's 36%, but still, that's for an economy the size of Germany's. 36% is a lot of gas. And even we see, as we saw on the map, Italy and France, they're pretty reliant on Russian gas as well. So here's another map, and here we see the Nord Stream in black. And I want to talk about this gray line here. This is the Yamal line I mentioned earlier. So in this map, it's green. This is the Northern Lights and Yamal Europe pipeline system, because something very interesting is happening right now. So eastward, Yamal gas flows from Germany to Poland. Remain steady. So gas flow from Germany to Poland via the Yamal Europe pipeline, which usually sends Russian gas west into Europe, have been steady over the weekend. So gas is flowing in the opposite direction in this pipeline than is usual. So here it is on this map, the Yamal pipeline. So it goes from Russia through Belarus, through Poland into Germany. But right now it's gone from Germany into Poland. And seemingly right now, Poland needs gas more than Germany does, because Germany is supplying Russian gas to Poland. The gas is going backwards. It's gone back to where it came from through the pipeline. And if you look at this graph here, Poland, 47% of their gas comes from Russia. So they're heavily dependent on Russian gas. So again, it's not just Germany, but a bunch of other countries are heavily dependent on Russian gas. And if we go back to this map, we can see how Russian gas ends up in Britain, as I mentioned earlier. It goes all the way to Bacton gas terminal in the UK. And we can see it going across, you can see the arrows. So it's gone to Italy, Germany, and some of it ends up in France, Hungary, Czech Republic. They're all heavily dependent on Russian gas. Now look at this. Where does it all come from originally? These are major Russian gas basins. Look at these huge gas basins in Siberia. You have Yamburg, Urengoy, and some other names I can't pronounce. And these are already operational. There are some prospective gas fields. And we even see a proposed gas terminal from Russia into Japan Now, I don't know, this is an old map, and I don't know if that actually happened, but we could have Japan being dependent on Russian gas. And here we go, this is Gazprom. So this is the Russian state majority owned company. So this is the company that's providing all the gas from Russia to Europe. And because it's like the Russian government is the majority stakeholder, it's basically Putin's company. So here's a world map showing proven gas reserves. We can see Russia there in the dark green, Russia and Iran here in the dark green, and it just shows you what the coloring is. So more than 10,000 cubic kilometers. And then we have countries like China, the US, Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Algeria. They're in the next tier, but they're way behind Russia and even Iran. Now, Iran is kind of loose allies with Russia, I guess you could say. But that's bad news for Europe again, that Iran is another country. Now, there's been talk of Europe getting gas from Iran. That's how desperate Europe is getting. They will actually get gas from Iran. So if there's a war between Russia and Ukraine, they might actually try and get gas from Iran, which, you know, Iran isn't exactly Europe's best friend. So here is natural gas reserves by country. Here's the list. Russia is way on top. Now look at this. They have almost 1/4 of the world share of gas. And look who's second. Iran. 17%. So Iran has huge gas reserves. Given the size of Iran compared to Russia. I mean, Russia, you'd expect it to have huge reserves just due to the sheer size of Russia. But look at Iran. Iran has huge gas reserves. And so too has Qatar. Qatar has 12.5%. And Qatar is a tiny country in the Middle East. They have massive gas reserves. And then in fourth place, you got the US. And then we got some other Middle Eastern countries or Central Asian countries, Venezuela and South America. But they're way down in terms of percentages. Venezuela is just 2.8%. So Russia, they hold all the cards when it comes to natural gas. And just as a slight aside here, so we have Gazprom partners with UEFA, national team football, and renews UEFA Champions League sponsorship. So Gazprom has been sponsoring like the UEFA Champions League since 2012, and now it's expanding its partnership with UEFA. They're getting into the international games between countries. You have Gazprom just pumping money into UEFA. They're a sponsor, and this just shows you how Russia is basically conquering Europe through gas. And it might be about to conquer Ukraine in the traditional military style. So when it comes to gas, it's not just about Nord Stream 2. We already have Nord Stream 1. We have this Yamal line, and we have the Brotherhood line and the Soyuz line, all gone into the heart of Europe and even all the way to England. So you have Gazprom, Putin, and Russia itself, the country. It's the triumvirate of power and victory. Gas, Putin, and Russia, the country. They own Europe. And you can look at all these maps over and over again, and it's just a nightmare for Europe. They're so dependent on Russian gas. And Germany has this crazy policy of, you know, building wind turbines and solar panels, and they just don't cut the mustard. They just don't provide the energy that's needed. And natural gas is such a great energy source. And Russia has 25% of the world's gas resources. And Germany is just so unbelievably compromised. And this is where Putin could wipe out Ukraine. They could steamroller and wipe out Ukraine, because look at all the pipelines going just through Ukraine. A huge amount of it that ends up in Europe. So I think people are distracted by the Nord Stream 2. And I think this is where Germany might have a get out of jail card. Because Germany could say, okay, well, we're going to not open up Nord Stream 2. But they're going to continue taking gas from other pipelines from Russia that go through Ukraine and Belarus. And so when Germany says it may halt the Nord Stream 2, it's hard to know if they might actually be able to pull that off. They might be able to pull it off, but it's all smoke and mirrors, because they're just going to be bringing in Russian gas regardless through Nord Stream 1, the original Nord Stream, and from all the pipelines that go through Ukraine. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. Germany is really compromised politically and militarily. So let's see how this plays out. Putin is in a really great position when it comes to Ukraine because of gas. Alright guys, so I'm going to be keeping you updated on what happens in Russia and Ukraine. So stay tuned, make sure you subscribe, and let me know what you think about this situation. See you guys next time.